Mr. Usmani is the Executive Vice President and Head of the Sharia Audit at Mizan Bank in Pakistan. Mr. Usmani is a globally renowned Islamic finance scholar and practitioner with extensive international experience. He has more than 25 years of diversified working experience. Brother Usmani is a member of the Pakistan Stock Exchange Islamic Indices Board, Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan's National Committee on Reforms. Today, we are honored to have him share his insights and experience at NACIF 2024.
نحمد ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. Honorable Chairman, North American Conference on Islamic Finance, and my dear friend, Dr. Kabir Hassan, co-founder and the founding chairman, Dr. Shakirullah, esteemed speakers, organizers, and participants. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It gives me immense pleasure to speak at this august occasion of North American Conference on Islamic Finance 2024. Today, I'll be making a presentation of a very important topic, not just in Islamic finance, but even in conventional finance, and that is managing treasury. As we all know, that treasury management is something which not even a single person on this earth can say that I can live without having to deal with the treasury management. Even the lowest segment of the society economically, usually we call them beggars, to businesses, to individuals, to households, even to governments, they usually come across with the question as to what's the best way of managing their treasury in the best possible manner. So today, we will be discussing the different possibilities of managing a treasury of an Islamic financial institution, and of course in a Sharia compliant manner. The fundamental area of treasury management includes assets as well as liability management, whereby we need to understand that treasury management for any financial institution, usually in a conventional financial sector, comprises of four distinct important segments. Firstly, it's called short-term acceptances or call borrowing, whereby whenever an institution comes up with a short-term liquidity crunch, they usually go in the interbank market and they accept funds for a short period of time. That can be for an overnight borrowing till maybe a few weeks, days, or months. The other option is, or the challenge that a financial institution come across with, is related to the placements of funds, whereby if they have excess liquidity which is not being invested anywhere, then keeping this funds idle is not a viable option or a prudent act. So for any institution, what they have to do is they try to place those funds so that they can earn and no fund is being placed. This excess placement of funds is an important area whereby any treasurer do not want their funds to be kept idle and unutilized. So if they have any funds which is called excess liquidity, they need to place it somewhere to earn profit on it. The third activity, which is very important activity related to treasury management, is purchase and sale of foreign currencies, and that is mainly related to those areas whereby either we have exporters who export certain products in an international currency, or we have imports whereby the importers import goods and they have to pay in an international currency. This usually is a challenge whereby international trade is being done in US dollars. Now, the fourth important area is bill purchase and discounting of receivables. Usually this kind of challenges whereby an exporter related to any export product, they export goods and then subsequently, as a result of that export, either it can be a user's bill which has certain credit period. On the other hand, it might be a side bill which requires few days for payment. The exporter usually do not want to wait for even few days. So what they do is they bring in that export bill to a financial institution and they go to discount it. So this is called bill discounting. Again, these four critical areas is if being done in a conventional manner, it has certain issues related to it. For instance, the first part is call borrowing, whereby usually in conventional finance, this kind of borrowing is being done on the basis of interest-based borrowing. The second part is the placement of access funds. And again, the challenge in that is usually they place those access funds on interest-based lending, which is of course non-Sharia compliant and haram. The third part is the sale and purchase of foreign currencies. Now, the purchase and sale of foreign currency, if being done in a conventional manner, then this is not Sharia compliant, which means if a foreign currency is being done on a hand-to-hand transaction or a same-day settlement and deal, then only that transaction is Sharia compliant. Else, usually the forward transaction or other kind of transactions that are being done in a conventional manner, they are against the guidelines of Sharia because of the delays in settlements. The fourth part is the bill discounting, which again the underlying product is discounting of receivables, which is the trade and sale of receivable, which is called bai'ud-dain and is not allowed under Sharia. So again, all these four major areas of managing a treasury, unfortunately in a conventional market, is not being done in line with the guidance of Sharia. So what are the possible avenues, what are the possible ways of doing or performing these important tasks by any financial institution in a Sharia compliant manner? We'll be discussing those that are practically being used by many financial institutions in the globe. What's the reason for this liquidity management issue? Islamic liquidity management tools has two sides. The first is matching the shortfall and short-term liquidity needs, while on the other hand, if they have access funds, they need to place those funds in a Sharia compliant manner. Now, what are the possible avenues for them? On the acceptance side or the shortfall side, they can gather funds from the depositors, which means they can accept deposits from their customers in a Sharia compliant manner. This is one area. The other is interbank acceptance, which means there are other financial institutions who have access liquidity, an Islamic financial institution can accept those funds in a Sharia compliant manner from those financial institutions, which is called interbank borrowing or interbank financing. Again, this can be done only in Sharia compliant manner. The third is, in order to match the assets and liabilities side, they have to sell the excess in asset side, that is in the form of securities like sukuk. They can sell those securities or assets in the market to balance the assets and liabilities. On the other hand, if they have access funds, what Islamic financial institution can do is they can place those funds in the interbank market in a Sharia compliant manner. They can deposit those funds in their nostro accounts. Nostro accounts are those accounts which a bank has in an international bank so as to manage their settlements in the international trade. The third option of placing access funds is investment in sukuk, whereby Islamic bank or Islamic financial institution can place their excess liquidity in sukuk to utilize that excess liquidity and earn halal profits on it. Now, we'll be presenting a comparison between conventional treasury products and Islamic treasury products that we are using. For short-term borrowing, which is a very simple product in conventional financial institutions, whereby they just accept funds, and this is called clean lending or clean borrowing, whereby they accept funds with the rate decided and the tenure agreed upon by both the parties, and for the duration, they pay the agreed upon interest on it. While on Islamic financial institutions end, the option for having the alternate option for the interbank borrowing is interbank acceptance on the basis of either musharaka or mudaraba or wakala, whereby the other financial institution place the funds in Islamic financial institution, whereby they create a separate pool on the basis of either mudaraba, musharaka or wakala, and on the basis of musharaka or mudaraba, they share the profits on an agreed upon profit sharing ratio and not rate. While on wakala, they accept funds and they just charge the wakala management fee, while the rest of the profit, or in case of loss, the whole profit or loss is being passed on to the investor. So these are the alternates that we have as an option. As far as short-term lending and liquidity management products are concerned, in the conventional market, they simply place those funds in a conventional interest-based lending manner. While in Islamic finance, we have alternates like interbank placement. Again, on this side, the placing institution, that is Islamic financial institution, can only place those funds in a Sharia compliant manner, and the option is same, like we have interbank musharaka, interbank mudaraba, or interbank wakala. The other option of placing excess liquidity is on the basis of placing those funds in nostro accounts. Again, if you have a nostro account in an international Islamic bank, then you can open a remunerative nostro account in an international Islamic bank and can place your excess funds there to earn halal returns on it. Then we have another option of placing funds through commodity murabaha. Again, commodity murabaha is a product whereby on the acceptance side, we have a use for tawarruk, which is widely used across the globe, and we can use it and through the use of various platforms, the commodity murabaha or the commodity trading platforms, we can place those funds and accept those funds through executing commodity murabaha transaction. Then we have an option of placing excess liquidity in the sukuk, which are Sharia compliant securities, and on the other hand, we have equity investments, which means we can invest in Sharia compliant shares in the stock exchange. As far as bill purchase and discounting option is concerned, of course, in a Sharia compliant manner, Islamic financial institution cannot purchase the receivables or discount the receivables. Rather, they have two main options. First one is to execute a buy salam transaction, which is Karachi salam option, and the other option is accepting or collecting those funds of export bill under the mode of agency and can earn an agency fee on it. As far as purchase and sale of foreign currency, especially in the forward market, is concerned, Islamic financial institutions can only execute those funds under the mode of promise to buy or promise to sell. And again, as far as closeout methodology is concerned, in a conventional market, usually closeout transactions are being done on a fictitious basis, whereby they just calculate the imaginative profit or a loss in any closeout transaction, and they share or exchange the difference in amount in a fictitious transaction, which never happened. While in Islamic finance, the only option of closing out is to either execute it formally, or you have to assign an agent, and the agent actually execute that foreign currency transaction to come up with a profit or a loss out of that transaction, and that actual transaction's result is being shared with the concerned party and not a fictitious one. On the Islamic financial institutions acceptance side, whereby they're short of funds, the options that they have is interbank borrowing on the basis of musharaka, mudaraba, or wakala, whereby they accept funds from another financial institution on the basis of interbank mudaraba, whereby the other party is the depositor, the bank, which is the accepting bank, is the mudarib, and they manage that fund in a Sharia compliant manner, place those funds in a Sharia compliant manner, and shares the return with the Rabbul Mal, that is the investor. As far as interbank musharaka is concerned, both the institution, the accepting institution as well as the placement or the investing institution, they both share the investments and returns at a pre-agreed profit sharing ratio. As far as wakala is concerned, the accepting institution accept those funds as wakil, as agent, and the investor gets the reward for those investments. The main reasons for acquiring funds or shortfall of funds is maybe out of one of the reasons. First one is withdrawal by existing depositors, which means if you have depositors and a big depositor or big chunk of deposit is being withdrawn by customers, then you have a shortfall. On the other hand, if you have a financing disbursement, which is a huge amount, then in order to manage or equate your assets with your liability, you have to accept new funds. While it can be a general liquidity management requirement, and based on that, you might be needing funds. Now, coming to the placement area, whereby Islamic banks can place funds with Islamic financial institutions, of course, on the basis of interbank musharaka, mudaraba, or wakala, or the Islamic divisions of a conventional bank, which if they have separate windows, if they have separate divisions having separate books of accounts, then Islamic bank can place funds in one of those three modes. As far as conventional banks are concerned, in case of liquidity management by Islamic banks, usually this is not a preferred method, but in case if it's needed for Islamic financial institutions stability, then they can place their funds with conventional banks, but only in a Sharia compliant manner. And the major ways through which they can place those funds in a conventional bank is either by merger of sukuk, which means they perform a sort of a commodity murabaha transaction by using sukuk. Of course, these kind of sukuk are not received with sukuk or held to maturity. Rather, they must be having illiquid assets and tradable assets as an underlying asset for those sukuk. So these can only be done on a tradable sukuk. Then we have secured musharaka, whereby Islamic financial institution can place those funds in certain Sharia compliant assets by conventional, for instance, if they have sukuk. So these are secured musharaka transaction, but it needs to be ensured that this all process is under strict observations and controls, whereby it can only be done in a controlled and Sharia compliant environment. So we need to be very, very sure. Now, the need for placing of funds in the interbank market usually arises due to maybe new deposits, and again, early retirement of financing by any customer, or in case if an investment is matured by an Islamic financial institution, and as a result, they might have excess liquidity and they need to place their excess liquidity to manage those funds in a wise manner and to provide maximum benefits to the depositors and investors. Another option, whereby if an Islamic financial institution has got excess liquidity, they can place those funds in their nostro account. Now, nostro accounts are those accounts of Islamic financial institution maintained with correspondent banks. Islamic financial institution needs to open their own nostro accounts in an international Islamic bank, and they can be remunerative accounts. In case they do not have an option of opening a remunerative account at an Islamic bank, then they are only allowed to open a current non-remunerative account in a conventional bank. On the other hand, in case if there are multiple institutions, like you need for operational challenges, Islamic financial institution need to open an account in a big conventional bank, while on the other hand, in the same vicinity, country or city, they have another option of placing funds in an Islamic financial institution, but they do not have that much network or facilities to facilitate the Islamic bank's settlements, then we can have an arrangement, automatic investment plans arrangement, whereby Islamic Bank can open a current non-remunerative account in a conventional bank, and at the same time they can open a remunerative account in an Islamic bank. And at the end of the day, they can have an arrangement whereby um a certain, while leaving a certain amount of funds, the rest of the funds needs to be placed for overnight placement by the conventional bank in an Islamic bank on behalf of the Islamic financial institution. So from that perspective, they can manage and invest that excess liquidity. As far as sale and purchase of sukuk options for placing excess liquidity is concerned, that's the easiest way to manage liquidity, whereby Islamic financial institution can outrightly purchase and they can sell their securities to manage their liquidity. On the other hand, they can utilize a product called module of sukuk, which is similar to the commodity muraba product, whereby the difference is that underlying asset is the tradable sukuk. So this is another option. As far as placement through BEM module of sukuk is concerned, it has got two legs. First leg is to buy sukuk on cash on the basis of DVP, which is delivery versus payment, whereby the institution purchase sukuk on instant payment basis. But in the second leg, they sell sukuk on credit basis to another financial institution, or delivery versus free, whereby it's a credit sale, and that other institution that has bought the shares or the sukuk, they sell it in the market to generate liquidity, and then subsequently after a while they repay the price of the sukuk that they have purchased from the first institution. So this is another important area whereby Islamic financial institutions can place their funds through BEM module. Next important product widely used across the globe by Islamic financial institutions is commodity muraba. This product is and can be used for both the purposes. That is, in case of excess liquidity, the institution can place their funds through the use of this product, while on the other hand, if the institution is facing shortfall of liquidity, then they can use this product as well. Commodity murabaha is available in multiple maturities, maybe from overnight to 1 year. The Islamic Bank usually purchases a product on cash basis, and then they sell it to other financial institution on cost plus profit deferred payment basis. Once the ownership is transferred from one institution to another, the other institution usually sell that product that it has purchased on deferred payment basis in the market on spot payment basis, and they generate liquidity. Once they generate liquidity, they use this liquidity for their purposes, which means through this kind of transaction, the first institution which has access liquidity can place those funds from the purchase of that commodity and selling that commodity to another institution at a cost plus profit basis. Well, on the other hand, the institution that is facing liquidity challenge can acquire that product from first financial institution on a deferred payment basis, and then subsequently can sell it in the market on a spot basis to generate liquidity and meet their liquidity needs. After a while, on due date, the second institution repays the price of the commodity that it has purchased from the first financial institution on a deferred payment basis to the first institution, and the transaction is concluded. So this is another important area whereby the Islamic financial institutions use commodity muraba product for both purposes. Now coming to another important area whereby the exporters usually brings in their export bills for discounting to financial institution, and what is or are the options available for Islamic financial institution to as an alternate to discounting of receivables. Now there are two areas to it. First one is the product widely used in subcontinent. So from that perspective, we need to understand that there are two different perspectives among scholars related to the usage of salam product in case of currency. Salam is a sale whereby the seller undertakes to supply some specific goods to the buyer at a future date in exchange of an advance price fully paid at spot. Now, as far as currency salam is concerned, one school of thought of scholars, they are of the view that as the currency represents gold and silver, so the rulings related to the treatment of surf, that is the gold and silver, applies to currency, and thus in case if you're of the opinion that the current currency represent gold and silver, then you cannot enter into the salam of currency. While on the other hand, there is another school of thought among scholars, and that is they are of the view that today's modern currency does not represent gold and silver, rather they are metal coins called fulus. So they treat currency as metal coins, and if that is the case, then currency salam can be performed. So from that perspective, if we use the bill as a receivable, what Islamic banks do is they accept that bill as a security, and on the basis of that they keep it as a security and they enter into a salam transaction with the exporter. They purchase foreign currency which is equivalent to the amount of the bill that exporter has bought, and now Islamic bank pays the price in full, which is a requirement for the salam transaction in the local currency, and then subsequently on the given day when they receive the amount for the export proceeds, they pay it to the Islamic bank as a price, as a subject matter for the price that they have received in advance. So this kind of treatment is being done with multiple conditions that are being imposed by scholars, especially related to the rates, whereby there is a strict condition that the rates should be within the spot rate range so that it can not be used for any other non-Sharia compliant purposes or as a hila. And then subsequently, again, the spot rate range, they have got regulatory requirements as to what can be considered as spot rate range. So because of the lack of time, I won't go into that detail. The other option is whereby Islamic financial institution can keep this bill on behalf of the exporter as an agent of the exporter. They can collect the proceeds on behalf of the exporter. They can lend the money to them without charging anything on it. And for performing this kind of job, they can ask for and they can agree upon for an agency fee, because on behalf of exporters, they accept and collect funds and settle this. So under the mode of agency, they can also use agency's mode to execute this kind of transaction. So now overall, with this, we can safely say that Alhamdulillah, treasury of any Islamic financial institution or even any institution can be managed in a Sharia compliant manner, whether it's for the shortfall of liquidity, or it's about the placement of excess liquidity, or it's about providing alternate to exporters for discounting their bills receivables, or for the purchase and sale of foreign currency. Alhamdulillah, scholars and the practitioners have come up with the solutions that can cater to, if not all, majority of the requirements of these kind of transactions. They are available in a Sharia compliant manner. It's just that we need to understand these products in detail. It's just that we need to execute these transactions. We need to modify our agreements and contracts and documents and apply the concept and philosophy of these products in true letter and spirit. With this, Alhamdulillah, I'm quite confident that we not just as an institution, but as an individual, rather as a government, we are in a position to manage our treasury in a Sharia compliant manner, in a very efficient manner. With this, I would like to thank the participants, my fellow speakers, the organizing team, the chairman and the co-chair, and all who have contributed, especially the sponsors, in organizing this huge event in North America and making this a huge success. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the efforts of all and give barakah. Jazakumullah khairan, and my sincere apologies for not making it physically, but I've mentioned my email addresses here, and I welcome any question, concern, or comments through email. Wish you best of luck and thank you so very much. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.